Howdy folks, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be answering a bunch of questions from the community. In other words, today's video is a Q&A. I asked both on a YouTube community post and on the Discord server for questions that any of you may have for me, and I picked a handful of them out to answer in the video today. If you see that you've asked the same question as one that was used in this video, but your comment wasn't featured, that was most likely because I saw somebody else ask the same question first. And for these questions in these videos, the people that I featured were first come, first serve. And if there was a question that you asked and I didn't answer, that doesn't mean that I might not answer it in the future. A quick thing before I get started is I'd like to thank a bunch of my friends who will be showing on screen later at the end of the video for voice acting all of the different comments that I got today. I thought it would be a little bit boring if it was just me reading out the questions and answering them myself, so I thought it would be a little more entertaining if I had my friends read out the questions. That being said, let's get on with the first question.
Have you ever had a secret account that no one knows about?
While I wouldn't call the account secret, I do have a ton of alternative accounts. In fact, I would say last time I counted, I had somewhere between 25 to 27 alt accounts. That is a lot. I know that's a lot. But the reason that I have so many is, long story short, back when prize pals were available for the daily login, I decided to get as many prize pals as I could because I could see their worth going up. Except in my silly brain, instead of actually waiting for the worth to go up, I saw that people were getting good items from them. And instead of researching how they were getting the good items like Whiteout, which was by leveling them up to level 5, I decided to open all 20-some prize pals all at once without leveling them up. Definitely a very no-brain moment of me, but I have many of those in my time. If you're interested in some of my alt accounts, the ones that I pretty much talk about publicly and sometimes use in my live streams are KijjiKon 2, KijjiKon Den Storage, and KijjiKon Cloth Storage. Those accounts, if you want, you can buddy them, and I will accept your buddy request, so long as the lists don't get full.
What inspired you to make content? Who are your favorite content creators?
A few months ago when I decided to make content, I didn't really have any forethought or planning going into it. It was pretty much just a spur of the moment, hey, what if I decided to start making Animal Jam content kind of thing. I had really no plans. I only had a few topics that I wanted to cover. I just thought it would be a cool hobby to get into because I found myself getting really bored around the house. And that's why I started making content. But eventually, as I started making content and I felt comfortable in what I was doing before my account blew up with the Gym Ambassador video, I realized that I wanted to make commentary videos and I wanted to talk about some problems that I saw in the community or some arguments that people were having. And the reason I'm doing that is because I feel like this community is kind of self-destructive in where something happens and if the issue is not immediately rectified, they will tear each other apart just arguing the same topic over and over and over again. Which is why I decided to make my own videos on commentary topics so that I can talk about possible controversial topics now and in the future, discussing both sides of the situation so that instead of tearing each other apart, maybe some people could come to an understanding of both sides of the fence. As for my favorite content creators, if I'm specifically talking about Animal Jam, my favorite Animal Jam creators would have to be Lemon Puppy, Lala, and Sciafair. They were pretty much the big creators that I watched, up until I started making content. And I even watch them now, especially Lala. I think that they're a huge inspiration to me when it comes to making content, and probably one of the biggest reasons why I am still making content instead of just getting burned out of it and stopping. But if we want to talk about non-Animal Jam related content, I really enjoy watching lost media kind of stuff and history videos. I specifically quite enjoy watching history of theme parks and television shows. So I would say in those categories, probably the title would have to go to Yesterworld or Defunct Land.
Why is your name KijjiKon and does it mean anything?
Okay, so I've answered this a few times on stream specifically, so I'm gonna try to keep it brief. My username KijjiKon came from the name of one of my characters when I was in middle school. Their name was KijjiKoneko, which pretty much was a mistranslation of the word rainbow kitten in Japanese. It was a mistranslation because I was stupid and 10 years old, and I thought that it would be so cool to give my character a Japanese name because they were originally a Yandere Simulator OC. Long story short, I grew out of them and I kinda hate the character now, but the word KijjiKon has gone on to mean something entirely different to me, that being the name of my channel. And the reason that my channel is KijjiKon is because I made that my username way back in 6th grade when I was 10 years old, and I couldn't change it, so it's kind of stuck like this. And because I'm known as KijjiKon now, even if Animal Jam started changing usernames again, I probably wouldn't change it.
How do you think you managed to grow so quickly on YouTube? And do you have any advice for small creators just starting out that helped you when you started YouTube?
The video that kind of blew me up to where I am today was my Jambassador video, which got a lot of traction really quickly. And I think the reason that is because it was a topic that I knew that a lot of people had pretty strong opinions on, but no one really had made a proper video about it yet because of how hot a topic it was and about how kinda a good chunk of the community would disagree. But I went about making a video anyways, and because people were so interested in that topic, they just latched onto it. And I know that for quite a while, it was on like everybody's page. And then because it was on everybody's page, like creators like Wisteria Moon found me, and that's how I knew that I was getting my name out there. As for advice that I would give new creators starting out, 1, take your time. For me, I know that my posting is pretty inconsistent. I do try to make one commentary video a week, but don't feel pressured to adhere to a very strict schedule. All that's gonna do is burn you out and make content creating a chore. So take your time. Also, it's worth mentioning that it's a lot easier to keep someone's attention on a video if there's a lot for them to focus on. For example, you have the background footage of me playing Animal Jam. On top of that, you have my little avatar, then you have screenshots, and on top of that, you have background music and my voice. So it's a lot of things to keep viewers hooked. So if you want to add, like, your voice, it's very important to add an asset with your voice, in my opinion at least. I feel like people are a lot more willing to nowadays watch a video when there's both a visual and audio input. So if you're making videos and you're not using your voice, or you're using your voice and you're not using background music, not a lot of people are going to be engaged. And the last thing that I would say is like really important to remember about content creation is that you're not going to get anywhere if no one is clicking your videos at all. You could make top tier stellar content, and if your titles and your thumbnails suck, they're not going to watch the videos because no one's going to be interested enough to click on them. So it's really important that your thumbnails are eye-catching and sometimes maybe even a little clickbaity, and that your titles are something that people want to see and use a lot of buzzwords. For example, if you're making Animal Jam content, make sure you include the words Animal Jam in every single title, even if you have to add it in there at the end.
What animals do you wish to be brought back into the game, of which haven't been available for a long time?
Without a doubt, I would have to say cheetahs and llamas. Those, in my opinion, are some of the most well-designed animals in the game, but I don't have them, and so I really want them, especially the cheetahs. They've been out of stores for so long, and I know, like, at this point, they're kind of like a symbol of rarity because only cool, rare jammers have cheetahs, but I would really like them to be brought back just because I think they're super cute.
My question, how did you learn to make art like in your intros?
I'm actually entirely self-taught. I did take, like, your typical school art classes, but obviously they don't teach you about animation and about drawing cartoons. So when it comes to that kind of stuff, I've just completely taught myself. A big inspiration for me in doing art was like back in the 2010s when animation memes were huge. I used to make these really cringy animation memes. I'll probably put some footage on screen of some of my old animation memes. But like, because I thought animation memes were so cool, I started making animation memes way back in the day, and that's how I learned to animate. As for art itself, it's just been a process. Some of my old art is like actually terrifying compared to like what my art looks like now. I would just say, like, if you're an artist and that's like what you want to know, just keep practicing. Look at references. Stock photos can really help with poses. You'll find your own way if you keep practicing. Just don't give up.
I guess an interesting question could be, what was it like playing Animal Jam being poor and not having access to high-end devices to play on or being able to buy in-game currency?
The answer is an absolute bug fest. If you're playing Animal Jam on lower end devices, especially like back when it was new and so iPhones weren't so high performing like they are now, Animal Jam sometimes would run so slowly that I'd get stuck on loading screens. Also, just so many more bugs. But as for not being able to buy in-game currency, I remember specifically, like, back when I was younger, I would have to wait every single month to get my membership so that I could get sapphires. And I couldn't just get membership. My mom couldn't just buy me membership. We didn't have the money for that. So what I had to do is I'd have to go to my grandmother's house, and I would wash her car or do chores for her for money every single month to get Animal Jam membership. And so because I couldn't buy extra sapphires and, so much stuff was coming out, I had to budget myself where I would buy only a certain amount of sapphire items. I would literally sit at the beginning of every month with a pen and paper and literally do the math to determine what it was I wanted to buy this month. And if they released something cool and new in the sapphire shop, I would have to redo all of my calculations if I really wanted that item. Luckily, this was before my shops, so it wasn't like to the point where I now have to include the calculations for my shop stuff, but it was an experience. But I would say that generally I enjoyed it, and I'm kind of happy that I wasn't like super spoiled on sapphires and memberships like for free for myself every month. It kind of taught me how to work for things. Yeah.
Did you ever have some old, weirder main looks?
I mean, weird, kind of. I didn't really have a main look for the longest time. I was just like making whatever outfit I thought was cool, and then I'd keep it for a while until I made another cool outfit. I think my first main look was like an emo Arctic wolf. Your stereotypical spiked collar, that kind of stuff. I know they released like the Sea Star glasses as like a Halloween prize or something around that period, and so it had like the red and black Halloween glasses, Sea Star glasses, I mean. But my first proper main look was a snow leopard. The look was horrifying. I'll actually recreate it, put it on screen for you. It was actually just like super jarring and a mess of colors, but I wouldn't say it was weird.
What was your reaction when your channel started to grow at such a rapid pace? Were you happy, excited, shocked? Can't wait to see your video.
I was super excited, but also absolutely terrified. So I noticed that I was blowing up while I was at school, and I would say that like the climax of the craziness happened in my computer class. I had already finished all of the coursework for the year because I was incredibly like ahead of everyone else, and so I was able to sit in the back corner because he had an Xbox and I'd play on the Xbox, so I'd kind of hang out in the corner. And I was just watching as notification after notification after notification was popping up on my screen, and I was like shaking. I have a thing like where I get really anxious and I'll start pacing, so I was walking laps around the room. I ended up talking to my digital media teacher because he has his own social media, and he's like he does like logo designs for actual companies, so he's used to dealing with like people, and he gave me advice on what I should do. But like what made me freak out the most, and maybe the most excited, was when I received a comment on my TikTok from Wisteria Moon herself. And following that, I was invited into a group called the Play Wild Project, which is full of a bunch of larger Animal Jam content creators. And I just started getting comments and DMs from a bunch of really big content creators, and I literally lost my mind. I was crying in like the positive way I was crying, but I was just so overwhelmed that I was crying, I was excited, I was shaking, I couldn't like, every word that came out of my mouth to anyone was just me talking about Animal Jam because I was so excited. But I was also terrified because while this was originally just kind of me messing around with no direction, I had eyes on me now. So I kind of had to figure out what I wanted to do, and so I mean, it worked out for me.
What's your opinion on Animal Jam as a company? And do you think they've stayed true to what Animal Jam was originally? And do you think that even matters?
My opinions on WildWorks has changed quite a bit from before I started making content to after I started making content. Before I started making content, I kind of stuck with a crowd where I was like, oh, WildWorks bad, WildWorks NFT, yucky WildWorks. I kind of just went with what everyone else said, and I just watched videos on everyone, hating on WildWorks, and I believed that to be like the word of God. I thought it was true and that it was undeniable. Turns out it's not. When I started making content, I started actually doing my own research and looking into things, and at that point I had matured quite a bit, and I realized that WildWorks is not inherently bad. It's a company. I would say that WildWorks has made some poor business decisions, but that's all they did. They made some poor business decisions, and companies tend to do that. I'd say overall, I actually quite like WildWorks as a company. My experience with all of the employees at WildWorks has been phenomenal, and while I have experienced what I would say some unfair moderation in the past, I trust them, and I think that they're good people and that the company genuinely tries to put out a good message. I think the game is something that a lot of people enjoy. They listen to their fans, whether people like to believe it or not, and they're just very willing to accept criticism if you're presenting it to them in a kind and constructive way. Harassing people in DMs is not the way to go. But if you have like a ton of bugs going on, or you're experiencing something like that you think is unfair in the game, just shoot them an email or message them on Instagram, and almost every single time my reaction with them has been positive. I would say that Animal Jam has not been the same over the years. I would say Animal Jam's message and their goal is entirely different now to what it was then. Back when Animal Jam was new, they were very much an edutainment game, where they aimed to educate kids as well as entertain them. Nowadays, I would say it's more of just an entertainment game. You have a couple animal fun facts here and there, but the game definitely isn't as education-centric as it used to be. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think that really matters. I just think that the sort of goal that the company has changed. And I think that I am here and willing to take whatever they have to give us in the future. Looking forward to Animal Jam 2, you guys. No, but like actually, I'd say the company is just a company. Like in terms of if I like the company or not, I like it. And I'm excited to see what they have to do next.
Would you do any kind of reveal, like a face reveal, name reveal, anything else?
Believe it or not, I've actually done both of those things. My name has always been public to everyone since I started making the channel. I actually think that my name is on my Instagram page. Yeah, like my name's Samuel. I go by Sam or Sammy or whatever. That's why sometimes in my videos you'll see people in the background calling me Sam. As for my face reveal, I did a face reveal on Discord when I graduated, and you could still find it there. And then recently on a live stream, I accidentally turned my face cam on, so I did kind of a second face reveal. But I know not all of you attend my live streams or are in my Discord server, so for all of y'all's entertainment, I'll show you a selfie of mine on the screen now. Spooky, I know. I don't like my own face, but people seem to be interested in seeing my face reveal. So, yeah, that's me.
How was your main look created? Like, did it have some kind of story to it or something, or did you just randomly come up with it?
So, if you didn't know, my favorite animal of all time is the river otter. It always has been. So, when it came to making a main look that I actually wanted to use in the modern day, I knew it would have to be an otter. But what made me actually choose my design actually had to do with a friend of mine. At the time, I was not doing okay. I had experienced a loss of a friend, and I was extremely depressed. I was not doing great. I confided in a friend on Animal Jam, someone who was a lot older than me, they're an adult, and who was just willing to hear me out since I really didn't have anyone to talk to. And when they found out that I was going through a lot, they decided they wanted to gift me a bunch of items off my wish list. This included 2 Jamalidae double tails, a solid green one, and the red and green one that's on my main look. And I was unbelievably touched by the gesture. At the period of time that happened, I felt like I had nobody. And for someone to do something that kind to me, it made my month. And so I decided that whatever main look I would have, I would use those tails for. I already had forest boots, so I put my forest boots on and I put on the ancient dragon scarf, and I eventually traded for the double wings I had. For a while, I was using a green and red alpine hat instead of the archer hat because I had to take some time to trade up to the archer hat, but when I did, I knew then that that would be my main look forever. And not only is this cute otter my main look, he's also my fursona. If you didn't know, this character, this little red otter, his name is Archie, and he's not just my channel mascot. Before I started making YouTube videos, Archie was my fursona, and he still is. In fact, he has like a ton of lore, which some people in my Discord server have expressed interest in me making a video about. So if you've made it this far in the video, let me know if you want to hear an Archie lore video where I just talk about this character and his backstory and what he's like.
Do you think someone else should take Clark Stacy's place?
Okay. In receiving this question, it was at least made somewhat obvious to me that this person probably isn't a fan of Clark Stacy and what supposedly Clark Stacy has done. And I know a lot of people like to clown on him. And I'd like to say that I think that's pretty mean and unjust. He is the CEO of WildWorks, the company behind Animal Jam, if you didn't know. And a lot of people don't like him because around the time that Feral was closed and Cinder was made into an NFT game, Clark Stacy was verbally stating his support of the project and of NFTs on his Twitter page. And that led to a ton of people flocking to him and just saying some pretty awful things. I know some people genuinely tried to explain to him why NFTs are bad, but there were people straight bullying this man. At the time, Feral's Discord server was an absolute dumpster fire of like arguing and anger, and it was a pretty bad time for the Animal Jam community. However, I want to make it pretty obvious in saying that I don't think Clark Stacy is a bad person. Yeah, NFTs are bad for the environment, but I think that because of how sensationalized NFTs were at the time, a lot of people had much stronger opinions on NFTs. I mean, I don't think NFTs are good. I think they're yucky. But I don't think that it's worth harassing people or calling someone a bad person over. Not to mention, the NFT project didn't even last. In fact, the NFT project isn't even in WildWorks' hands anymore. A section was split off, and now Feral and Cinder are owned by their own company. So, no, I think that Clark Stacy is a good person. I think that, he's shown in his work and what he does that he genuinely cares about people. He cares about children. If I remember correctly, he's a father as well, so... And also, it's worth mentioning that WildWorks is an entire company. Clark Stacy is not WildWorks. WildWorks is not Clark Stacy. There's a lot of people behind WildWorks, and I highly doubt that Clark Stacy was the only person on WildWorks' team who was in support of NFTs and who wanted NFT games. Because at the time, NFTs were crazy in the media. They were booming. It was profitable. Obviously, NFTs came crashing down, but that doesn't mean that he's a bad person, and no, I don't think he should be replaced. After all, from what I can tell, Clark Stacy is the heart of WildWorks. He was the heart behind the project. He made Animal Jam what it is today.
How has your perspective changed on Animal Jam HQ and Animal Jam as a whole since starting YouTube and becoming more intertwined with other creators?
Kind of related to the last question, but my perspective has changed immensely. When I wasn't making content and back during the pandemic and the Feral thing, I was on the part of the people who were super, super angry at WildWorks and thought that WildWorks was a horrible company. I hated the Jambassadors. I thought that they were sellouts and that they had no personality. And I kind of was a pretty sour person. I got really angry at anything and everything that bothered me. I was just mean. And I try at least now not to be mean anymore. And since becoming a content creator and doing my own research and meeting people of the community, I've realized that a lot of what I believed wasn't true. I realized that a lot of people like to bandwagon off each other and just bring what should be a minor problem that has some arguments but can be sorted out through conversation becomes this massive blaze of anger and people attacking each other. I realized that WildWorks is just that, WildWorks. It's a company. You shouldn't take it personal if they do things you don't like. It's just a company, and that Clark Stacy is just a CEO and a person, and that, well, he is a human, and that, he should be treated well. I realized that a lot of the content creators just were catering to an audience that I was not a part of. I realized that a lot of the drama in the Animal Jam community is so incredibly stupid. People will take drama that should be kept within a tiny little friend group and blow it up to a huge argument. I realized that maybe things are a little bit more complex than right and wrong, and that there are multiple angles to look at things. And I guess I realized that I want to be able to provide those angles to people who might not be able to see it, so that I could change the mind of people who are as angry and sour as I used to be.
How do you continue to make new and interesting content and not get bored of the game?
Honestly, making my videos, a lot of the times I don't know if people will actually like it or not. Instead of making content that I think would get views or people would really like, I try to be genuine and make content that I feel like needs to be talked about or I think that people might genuinely have a conversation over. So sometimes when I post something, I don't know if people will like it or they'll absolutely hate my takes. But when it comes to making stuff interesting, I have a list on a personal Discord server, not the public one, where I will write every single little idea I have to discuss, even if it's just a bullet point I might use in a video, and I'll keep everything together. Maybe someone will mention something in a voice call that maybe people haven't talked about yet. Or maybe I've just had ideas sitting around in my brain for a long time. And then also, of course, I asked the community. In the Discord server, there's a channel where it's open for anyone to request any kind of content they'd like to see. Of course, just because they request it doesn't mean I'm gonna actually make a video, but in asking people what kind of content they want to see, it gives me a good idea on what topics need to be talked about or what people want to hear. So this is also a point of saying that if you're ever watching my videos and you think, I think KijjiKon should make a video about this thing, let me know, I might. And if I do end up making a video because I saw your comment, I'll be including your comment in the intro to the video to let people know, hey, this person gave me this idea. So just let me know if you want to hear anything new. That being said, this was my last question. And I had other questions, of course, plenty of interesting ones, but none that I felt were worth really giving my opinion outside of maybe a live stream. Of course, you can always ask me questions on live streams, and in fact, if you want to ask questions for a future Q&A, feel free to drop them in the comments, and I might actually bring them up. Also, feel free to let me know any Animal Jam hot takes you have, as I do plan on making another hot takes video in the future. That being said, I really hope that you enjoyed this video. It was like a lot of fun to produce, and I loved having all of my friends voice the different questions. I feel like that was like really exciting, and I also love my friends, so I love including them in my content like anywhere that I can. Let me know what you thought about that. Let me know what you thought about the video, what you thought about my friends, and a huge shout out to Bouncy Jelly Bean, Annie Chu, Carrie the Blue Anteater, Dill Pickle, and Toffee Bell, as well as Gadget Guy, or, well, my boyfriend, for voicing all of the questions in this video. I love you guys so much, and honestly, y'all are like what keeps me going. I hope we get to do this again in the future. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all around.
Among Us.